Welcome to MSG Presents. I'm your host with the most, the man with the plan, the Scotty Pippen of podcast pimping. Good afternoon. How are you all doing today? I'm here with Coach April. We're going to have a nice conversation about wellness. And I'm going to kind of start this off by saying April and I are on a mission to get wellness into more corporate organizations and institutions. So we've created this series. We had a live before that we talked about some things. And today we're going to get into something that I feel very strongly about, April, which is how can you be healthy at work? Is that even possible? And this is Coach April's area, one of her areas of expertise. So we got the right person here with us, April. Coach April, I was hoping you could kind of reintroduce yourself to the audience and tell them your background as it relates to fitness, nutrition, et cetera.
Yeah, absolutely. So always a pleasure to be here with you, my friend. So for those of you that may be new to me, Coach April, I am a health and wellness expert, consultant, and coach. And I also do some investing in the space as well. So I basically spent a number of years in corporate America prior to having my position eliminated and then transitioning into the wellness space after really taking a look at my own self and realizing how I was not taking care and really stewarding my body and the external situations and circumstances that I was going through in that particular time was not helping me. So I knew that something needed to change and something needed to shift in me first. And after I began that journey, I started to look around and notice that there were others in my community, in my church, in my circle that also were not stewarding their bodies as well. And so it really set me on a mission to really create healthier individuals, businesses, and communities. And so that's the goal now, just one temple at a time, one body at a time, to really shift the narrative and really create healthier environments is the ultimate goal.
Wow. I don't think I knew that you were not a good steward of your own body at some point. I guess I kind of always saw you as this person who was always kind of doing the right things as it relates to fitness and nutrition.
So fun fact, right? I talk about it in my book. There was actually an experience that I had as a teenager that was pretty traumatizing to me. And it impacted the way that I saw myself, right? And so go grab the book. You can do that at my website, kingdompowerliving.com, if you want to. That is a shameless plug, but I do talk about that experience and how it impacted me in my life. And I really didn't realize it until I started unpacking some things that I realized, it's kind of like one of those things like, you're good enough or healthy enough, or I think we think about this sometimes, right? We're not on medication, right? And so we're healthy. Our doctor is not like giving us any warnings, perhaps, to say like, come off, you have to be on this particular diet or this strict diet or something like that. And so we think that we're like healthy enough. However, what is our body really saying on the inside? And what are some of the other manifestations of not like living a healthy lifestyle? So is it being lethargic? Is it being, tired all the time? It may be those clothes like not fitting as well as they used to before, but it's not necessarily an alarm, from the doctor. Can you play with the children, outside, run around? So there are other measures that needed to be like looked at to say like, okay, perhaps the budget gourmet meals in the freezer is not the best choice that I could get for my body, even though I didn't necessarily see a immediate manifestation of it at that particular time. So yes, no, it's not always like this, but always kind of on this thing of like, I'm okay, or just kind of good enough, or, there aren't any like major things going on. So this isn't something that I really have to deal with. And I know this is a long answer to a response to your question, but I hear people even say that all the time. Like, man, when I was in my 20s and I was in my 30s, I could eat whatever. And I'm like, no, you couldn't. The manifestation of those things that you were doing to your body, to your temple, like back then, are actually coming to fruition right now. So just because again you didn't see the immediate, like, or you didn't see the immediate manifestation of it at that particular time, the outcome, it doesn't mean that we can do whatever and we're our most healthiest whole self.
Such a great point, because of like two things that stood out to me about that. One, yeah, it's not always expressly stated that, hey, you're not doing well, right? The doctor might not really have anything to say. Your body's not yelling at you. But then the other point that you made that I like is, yeah, this stuff is building up over time. And so you're doing this in your 20s, and you get to 40 and 50, and you wonder, why can't I stop eating this meat? Why can't I stop eating all this sugar? But it's a manifestation, like you said, of what you were doing when you were in your teens, your 20s.
Yeah. Absolutely. Think about a septic system, right? Which I liken to the lymphatic system. So one of the things that I did not mention is I am a coach in health and wellness from a fitness standpoint, like group fitness, but also from, a nutrition, hormones, and metabolism standpoint too. So think about a septic system, right? Think about your drainage in your home or whatever. We have a lymphatic system, which is kind of similar to that. So think about you never like cleaning it out, or think about when it gets backed up and when it gets clogged. Like, so it may take years, for that particular thing to happen before it gets backed up or before it gets clogged and it's like, not working. So again, just because we don't see an immediate like effect of it, like cause and effect, there is always cause and effect, right? That doesn't mean that it's not something that we should not take care of, because again, it will happen like eventually, right? It's kind of maintenance on the car. It's like maintenance with anything, right? We maintain so many things within our homes, within our cars, even, our kids, like regular like checkups and, things like that. We'll make sure our kids like do that. But are we like doing the maintenance ourselves, even outside of going to the doctor and getting like a physical or checkup, even outside of like we're talking about well-being within the workplace, even outside of that annual like well-being check that maybe some organizations do offer. Not all organizations do, which I think they should, but again, that's only one piece to the puzzle.
Definitely. Yeah. So you all, we're in the right place, talking to the right expert today, and we're going to get deeper into this. So I'm thinking back as you're speaking about when I was in corporate and what my daily lifestyle was once I got downtown. And I know we had this little loose outline that we were going to talk about, but it's like being very sedentary. So you're sitting at your desk all day, feeling like you don't have enough time. And then also, as you've been describing, like just knowing you're not in the right mindset. So I was hoping you could give us some tools and strategies to address like, okay, I'm at my desk. What can I do to be healthy at my desk while I'm working?
Yeah. So, I mean, I love that. And I'll start off with saying this. The first thing you need to do is to be intentional, right? Because nothing is really just going to happen, right? Unless you just kind of like do nothing, there's like something that's going to happen, right? But you have to be intentional about it. So you can just sit at your desk and get lost all the time. So like we work with organizations, but we also work with entrepreneurs, right? And people that sit at their desk. So you might have like tech neck, you might just like don't take breaks, and there's stiffness and like all of these things in your bodies, your joints, your limbs, like all of these particular things. So one, I say like be intentional that you are going to do things to be healthier throughout the workday. That's the first thing. You have to make a decision. And then the second thing is you have to like set up systems to really like put in place for you to do those particular things, right? And that's really the intentionality. So the same way you schedule meetings on your calendar, right? Schedule some breaks to get up and take a lap around the floor. Schedule like actual lunch breaks, like be intentional about even, and I know that I was the worst at this when I was in corporate, eating at your desk. right?
Yeah.
Especially if you live in a cold climate, like we do, you don't want to go outside, especially in those rainy days or those winter days or whatever, but still be intentional. Like do things like not eat at your desk. If you don't have a break room, find some kind of way where you can get away. Maybe it might be a lobby, maybe it might be a lounge, maybe it might be whatever
Mhm.
it is, to like actually get away from your desk. I mean, there's like certain exercises that you can do. You can do crunches, at your desk and like work on that core. I mean, one of my favorite is you can do like, glute squeeze. I mean, there's like a number of things that you can do
Okay.
from an exercise perspective, but it is going to depend upon like what your goals are. But the main thing that I would say is to be intentional about it and to actually like schedule these things, whatever that system is that you have, the same way you're scheduling meetings, the same way that you're scheduling with your dentist, the same way that you're scheduling your kids like soccer games, the same way that you're scheduling your one-on-one with your manager. Schedule breaks and schedule times for you to actually like pull away and actually do some like miniatures, like self-care, some miniature wellness things for
Mm.
you to really be impactful even when you come back, because there are studies that show like what breaks do like for our body and even for our minds and different things like that. And you can come back to whatever that task is, it will still be there, I promise you, until you like knock it out, but there will always be things there. And so taking even
Mm.
small breaks is so beneficial. Again, a very long answer to your question, but it's just
No, it's
so
good.
it's there's so much into it and there's so many layers to it, but those are a few things that you can do, but it really does depend upon like what your goals are.
So what I hear you saying, and I learned this strategy of thing I hear you saying, but what I hear you saying is that that's cool that you have the goal of I'm going to go to work and be healthy, but it's more about being intentional about what that looks like for you. So it's
Absolutely.
like, okay, I can sit in my chair and do shoulder shrugs, but like, what is that based on?
Mhm.
Is something wrong with my back? Am I going to do glute squeeze? Like, why am I doing those? Is something wrong with my tailbone? Like the why, and then being very clear about, you said, having a plan. So
Like
not
that.
just once you know why, then having maybe a written plan. We always talk about as entrepreneurs having a business plan, but you use the
Mm.
word miniature. I like that, miniature self-care or miniature wellness plan.
Mhm.
I like that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because it really is like your responsibility. Again, when we think about in the workplace, so I think it's like dual responsibilities, even, right? But you do have a responsibility in it. Now, we want and we work with organizations like you and myself to make sure that there's like supplemental things that the organization could be doing to help benefit the employee. But at the end of the day, this is really your body and you have to do like what's necessary in order to really take care of it, because you're only going to get one. And I just wrote a post recently, if you guys like check it out on LinkedIn, about like really like tangibly going into different work environments with my stomach in knots, or just like really not feeling good,
Mm,
not being my like most healthy whole self. That wasn't
okay.
beneficial for me and that wasn't beneficial for the organization. Now, while there are
Right.
things that the organization can and I believe should do, it should be a part of, like we said, their business plan, right? But it really is up to us to really like take the responsibility for the things that we can control. And these are some of the tips and some of the tools that we can do in order to take like mental and physical breaks within the workplace to be healthier and whole.
Quick pause. If you are enjoying MSG Presents, make sure to subscribe and share. Now back to the episode. That makes a lot of sense to me because we could say, oh, yeah, I'm kind of gonna, we're looking at this from the perspective of the person who's at work. But then, like you said, there's the perspective of the person you're working for. So they have a vested interest, or they should have a vested interest in you being as healthy as possible. The other thing
Absolutely.
is, I got to ask you a question, but I'll make this comment first. You use the term tech neck. I want to know what that is. But before we do that, I want to make sure it's clear, like the reason why we are doing this work, April and I, is because even though we know that there are some people that are going into organizations doing similar work, it's far too few. It's not enough because we have people suffering from so many mental illnesses and so many physical problems. I don't think we could have enough practitioners going in and doing this work. And so we just want to continue to have these conversations around different ways, not to just say you should do it, but like Coach April has given us strategies on how to do it and how to get in the right mindset.
Right.
So tell me about this tech net.
Yeah. So to your point though, I mean, really it's like it is not necessarily a one size fits all, right? Too. So it's like about like customizing for what works for you and the organization. And that's like one of the things that we like specialize in customization for, you know, what each particular organization needs. So and I'm linking that to the tech neck, right? So we have a lot of organizations that are very strong in, let's say, you know, software companies or whatever, or very strong in like coding. And so what is, you know, a developer doing? They're at the computer like pretty much most of the day, like just coding away or just typing. And there are things that in the technology space, right? So technology industry, and there are things like that could stiffen up, like in your neck. You mentioned like, you know, the shoulders, the things like that, tensions and stressors and things like that that can be in your body based upon the industry that you're in. And that's one of the big ones that people that are in the technology industry or that you know, kind of in that kind of focused zone that don't take like many breaks or that has like, you know, stressors that come in their bodies in particular areas because of the type of work that they're doing. And so there's their goal for that release is going to be different than the person that is perhaps like going into a work environment where they're standing on their feet all day, or the person that goes into an environment where they're doing presentations or, you know, meetings for like all day. And so there's different, you know, wellness activities and different tips and tools that you can do based upon your particular industry and the particular work that you do.
Didn't know that. Never thought about it. That makes complete sense though, right? So yeah, definitely not a one size fits all. But yeah, if you're in tech, it might be different than if you are a person that's out in the field most of the day and you come back for 2 or 3 hours and sit in the office. Two different sets of needs. Yeah, I like that.
A person that's in the field, to that point, that's like on the run and on the go all the time, right? So either not eating or maybe eating particular things that are not, you know, necessarily good for them, right? Or, I mean, it's just like lots of things. Again, sitting and being in a stationary place. I was talking to one of my students recently, and I mean, we were just, she was just saying like, you know, I know I need to do this. Like, I know I need to, but I'm going to sit at the computer and just like crank this thing out until it's done. And as we're talking through this and I'm sharing with her and she's sharing with me, like, I know that this isn't good for me, but this is what I like feel like I have to do, or this is what I'm going to continue to do. Let's put the stressors again on my body, but I'm not going to do anything about it. And that's why I said it's our personal responsibility, as well as like the organizations that we work for, to encourage these types of things. Because if I'm in this role where I feel like I just have to sit here and crank it out like all day because I am dependent upon this particular job, and because I believe that there is a particular expectation on me, then I'm not necessarily at a place where I'm thinking about my health first, right?
Yeah,
That's where that responsibility comes really from both sides. And you'll see it, since we're talking about the tech industry, right? You'll see it where some organizations have tried to address that, like, you know, having games and like having like break room, having things to make it like a funner environment, or to say like, hey, come and take a break and, you know, blah, blah, blah. But the same way that we need to look at the statistics for, you know, how many people are using their EAP program, how many people are, you know, utilizing their like financial resources, how many people are really utilizing those things? Because if it's an environment that's not like really, really encouraging that, kind of just in word, but not in deed, then me as an employee, I'm not really going to pursue that as the first all option, right, for me, because I got to get this work done.
I definitely can relate to that. So I'm just having flashbacks now when I was doing real estate.
We both are having flashbacks, right?
Yeah, I'm like, all this stuff is racing through my head, but I remember, so I can't sit here and be like, they didn't have anything. This particular firm had luncheons, they had people coming in to give different talks, they had games, but I did not feel like I could get up and participate many times. I didn't feel that way. And that's why I like what you said, because it's like, you have to make a decision. It's like the work is the work. And I know there's time frames and all that, but sometimes the employer actually is doing stuff, but you in your mind are thinking, nah, I can't get up and go do that. But you can. I don't want to tell people what they can and can't do. I guess what we're doing is just suggesting, take a step back and think, can you go do it, or can you really not do it? Which one is, and it's probably, you could do it. Maybe you can't do it for the whole hour, but maybe you can go in there for 10 minutes and come back. You know,
And it really is like, it's situational too, right? Because at that particular point, if that's something that you feel like is, you can't do one, that could also be putting a stressor on your body as well, as we're talking about mental and physical well-being within the workplace. But it also may be worth like having a conversation too, right? With your manager or your superior, whatever, right? I know we have all of these things, but I don't feel like I can participate in them because like the work is still like the work and it still needs to get done. And I got like all of these deadlines. And so sometimes there is an imbalance. And I mean, one of the organizations in particular that I am thinking about, there's lots of things and resources that were available, but not to a particular group because of the type of work that they were doing. So it's great that we bring in speakers, and it's great that we're bringing in lunch. Depends on the kind of lunch, because like we will not do our employees a good service by bringing in like pizza and like all of the things. And but anyway, that's a different topic. Yeah. But it didn't work for all of the different roles that were in the organization. And so that's something that employers and employees need to look at both. And that's why it's the responsibility of both, right?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I feel like that's a recurring theme in the work that we're doing. It's like, there has to be a thoughtfulness here. So I'll use an example. So I think about these firms I was at, they always went to the Cubs games and the Sox games, for example. If I knew that the Cubs game was on Friday and I got a bunch of work going on, maybe there was a way that I could do a little bit more on other days so that I could go to the game, right? Not in a way that was going to hurt me. Maybe I could do 15 minutes more here, 15 minutes more there so that I can get the entire day off to go with the firm to the game. But just being thoughtful instead of our initial reaction being, no, I can't go. I can't go to that. And I've been that person. I went to most of stuff, but I've been that person that for some events where I'm like, I can't go. And I've heard it from people where they're like, nah, I can't go. And you're looking at them like, we're on the same deal. Like, you can go. You know what I mean? But you can't make them go. But you're thinking like you could go, but you just don't want to for whatever reason. And so I like this because it's like thinking, do I want to even be healthy at work? I think that's number one, right? Do I want to be healthy at work? Or do I want to be the person that's unhealthy at work and complain about
it? That part. Now that's a real thing. That really is a real thing. And that's why I started out saying you have to be intentional and you have to make a decision. And really it again, it's so situational, right? Because I mean, there's like so many factors that we can, put in this, right? If you don't want to go, I think it's okay with being honest to say like, hey, okay, I don't want to go. But if it's, a real reason why you can't go, this is an opportunity for, the organization to say like, hey, this we feel like is going to be like really good for, the company, for the team building, to get away, to relax, to say like, okay, even like looking at the list and say, okay, why is, John, Jane, and Kim not going to the game, right? And then maybe that's perhaps in looking at the workload to say, okay, well, can you have these meetings like after the call, or can you do them like, so again, it comes from both sides, but it takes personal responsibility. It takes an honesty. We have to be honest with this thing. The way that I started out, so I'm like, I had to be honest and really look within myself and say, like, hey, like, really, are you your most healthy whole self? Like, really? And I know that we throw the terms, and I even used it earlier, self-care out a lot. And self-care it goes beyond just like looking good on the outside.
Sure.
It goes
Right.
beyond looking good, just the appearance on the outside. Like self-care is so many things, the same way that mental wellness and like physical wellness and all of these well-being things that we're talking about, it's so many things. There's a lot of layers to this thing, but unless we begin to peel the onion, then it's just gonna be there, right?
Absolutely. Definitely. And that honesty piece is so critical, because I'm thinking back again, it's like in some situations, I just didn't want to go. But the question I should have been asking myself is, even though I don't want to go, should I go? Should I go to the kind
That's
of event?
good.
Should I go to the something, right? For my own mental health. And I like what you said about the self-care. I read a book recently called, it was 100 self-care activities for Black men, something title
Mm.
similar to that. But it just helped me to understand how many self-care activities there are. Like
And
some
that
things I didn't
wasn't
even
the full,
realize. I didn't even feel that's not even the full
that's
thing, but
not
it's
even
like
the
some
full
of the
list.
things
Yeah.
I didn't even realize was an act of self-care. It could be something like just brushing your teeth or keeping your hygiene together. The author is saying that's part of your self-care. Because think about it, when you get busy in corporate, you might start dropping off on your hygiene a little bit. That's self-care that you're missing.
Yeah.
That's wellness. Part of being well is your hygiene. So yeah, I
Yeah,
wanted to bring that up.
absolutely. But even, I mean, self-care is like what we talked about, being honest with yourself
Mhm.
and not like putting on a facade. That's self-care,
Yes, it
right?
is.
Like going deep in, like that is all of those things that's self-care. And we think about it kind of one-dimensional, I think. And especially like, for the sisters, and I know I get it, and probably for the brothers too, the haircuts, the nails, the spa, the facials, the massages, and like all of those things. Those are great. I mean, especially because massaging does like other things to, like help wrist stressors and, type, like all of the things too, right? So massage does have like good benefits, but that's not enough, especially if, the other things that we're not like taking care of, like, the constant busyness of, taking care of everybody, or we're not really like looking at our foods and what we're like eating, and we're not intentionally like moving our bodies and things like that. So self-care, it spans the gamut, right? And like you said, that was great. I mean, 100 like tips, but that's just like scratching the surface. But we
Yeah.
got to look at this from a multi-dimensional perspective and know that it's not just this or that, or even what I would say society or what's commercialized as,
Right.
self-care.
Self-care.
It's
Yes.
that inner work as well too. It's that mental thing that we need to do as well. That's self-care too.
Absolutely. I want to see you and I put together, I think we started this, but like a self-care scoring thing where it's like you can
Mhm.
kind of see where you are right now and have like a score. And then based on your score, give people some things to kind of look at to get your score up.
Yeah, think
That'd be
about this.
interesting.
That would be
All
interesting. I
right.
love that.
Yeah, let's try to figure that out. So, okay, so let's get to, I want to make sure we get to this while we have you. So, we're going to talk, we talked about more moving things, but what about the nutritional aspect? So, you're at work, they're feeding you all this pizza every 5 minutes. I know corporate, they love to order pizza. How can we
I
get
know.
in some healthy snack options?
Yeah. So, I mean, you know what? That's true. And again, I have been on the giving and receiving end of that. And I mean, I get it. And Y'all, this isn't like don't ever eat pizza again. This is not like we're like in like locks and chains, but at the same time, this is like what's important to us and what's not important to us, right? And so the best advice that I can give is thinking about food in the most holistic way as possible, right? So the less processing that any type of food that you have goes through, the better it's going to be for your body, right?
Okay. Now I'm getting stuck here because I know what the audience might be thinking. How do they know how much processing has been involved?
Okay. So so let's think about this and think about a mushroom, right?
Mhm.
Its most natural form, or like, I mean, a fruit or vegetable, even like a piece of meat, right? So think about it from raw to when it's on your plate. How many
Okay.
steps do you think that it has gone through, right? Is it fried? Is it battered? Is it whatever, kind of the things are? Sides, right? We like to dress up vegetables because we don't think that they like taste good or whatever. So if we have to put like goo gobs of condiments on something to like make it
Mhm.
better, that's still, although it's not like a manufactured process, we're still taking it through like a process, right? So
Wow. Never thought about that.
it doesn't
Okay.
it doesn't have to be just fruits and vegetables. I'm not a vegan. I'm not even a vegetarian because I believe in good like protein and like all of the things, but that's what I like to have people think about. Like, what's the original state and how many like steps do you think it's been through, right? We may not know, but we got the FDA out here approving lab created meat. So it's like
Yeah.
we got to think about these things. We need to be careful about these things. And I know that there's some people that it's easy for them to bring their lunch to work, and there's some people that it's not just because of their schedule.
Sure.
Getting back to that
Yeah.
intentionality, knowing like what works for you. And so when I help my clients with meal prepping and meal planning, that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to do the prepping and the planning, but to know what you're putting in your body is, I think, one of the best ways to be healthier, even at work. Know what you're putting in your body. So thinking about that, like I said, that whole like processing thing, and think about what it is that you are putting in your body. And getting back to the employer piece, right? We as employees, if we want our people to be healthy and whole, we need to be considerate about the types of thing when we have lunches coming in. What are we bringing in for them? Is it pizza because that's the cheapest thing? Or are we thinking about like other healthier alternatives, for them, right? Are we just getting
Yeah.
like the powdered creamer in the coffee room because that's the cheapest? Or are we
Sure.
thinking about like a whole process of like whether it's going to be like full dairy milk or whether it's going to be a dairy alternative or whatever, but like what are we really trying to add like bonuses and benefits that's going to help our employees, or are we just doing something that's going to be the most economical, the cheapest, the whatever? So thinking about those things too is part of being healthy at work. Just because the organization offers it doesn't mean that you have to have it, but it could also mean
Okay.
that you could make some recommendations about some other like things and alternatives. So that again is that
Yeah.
give and take as we're talking about being healthy at work. It's that give and take from the employer side, responsibility, but also from, the people side, right? And I know we have
Yeah.
different thoughts about what it means to be healthy, right? And that's why you bring someone in like, you or myself, and we work through this process to talk about, like healthy doesn't just mean salad, right?
Definitely. And that's there's an opportunity there to your point. It's like there are a lot of firms that have wellness committees. As far as like the pizza, for example, I've been told by the people who order the food at numerous firms, it's not about that it's so cheap. It's just the easiest thing to order where nobody's going to complain. And that's why I like your comment about the company saying, hey, we're trying to get you all healthier. Like this is, you know what I mean? So yeah, we're not going to order the pizza today, but this is why. Let's kind of go through that process of finding something healthy that everybody likes, just like they like the pizza. I think
Mhm.
that's super important.
And and that to me too, like cheapest and easiest, those to me kind of like go hand in hand because it's like
Yeah.
not that we necessarily want to make things difficult, but at the same time, how much more, appreciative are we, or like we could be like to know that this was thoughtful and that like we took time to say like, hey, this was important to us because you're important to us. And so we're
Exactly.
not just, and I get it because we're in a busy environment. We're in the like all of the things, but it's like we're not going to cut corners because we care about you. And that's why I'm saying, like, when we have our most healthiest whole employees in environment, then we're more profitable and we're more productive. Because after you done
Right.
fed them that pizza that they really like, when they need like a Diet Coke or coffee or whatever, some caffeine, like after that, because now they sleepy and they like sluggish and all that, and they still have to
Crash
stay
and all
to
that.
work. Right.
Yeah.
So it's like thinking about those things as well. It may seem like easy, but there's opportunities for you to even introduce like other things perhaps throughout, the quarter, the year, the whatever, that are healthier alternatives, either to kind of like help them engage in some healthy alternatives so that when the big party thing or whatever comes on, it either really is a celebration where we're having some things that are not like maybe normal, or we've kind of like helped introduce them to some things where it's like, oh, when we order this right now, it's not going to be like, oh, like we don't like it kind of thing, right? It's not
Yeah.
the easiest thing, but we built up perhaps to that
Definitely. I love that.
level.
And I want to make sure we make this point. And I'm thinking about Jay-Z, how he used to talk about, he's not a businessman, he's a businessman and all that stuff. It's like, think
Don't quiz
about
me on
yourself.
Jay-Z.
Huh?
Don't quiz me on Jay-Z. I want to pass the test.
Yeah. But like he was basically trying to get across this point, like, and I think this carries over for a lot of different stuff. It's like, okay, you're at work, they're running a business, but are you considering yourself as an employee a business as well?
That
Right.
part.
So and that could take on a lot of different forms. It could be, I'm a business in the sense that I have my own brand, I'm starting my own business, but what about the business of your family? So if we
Yes.
ruin ourselves at work by sitting improperly and doing all this work and eating all this bad food, you messed up your business outside of your job. And I just want to encourage people to think about it in those terms. I think it's easier to make some different decisions.
That's so good. That's so
Yeah.
true. That's
Yeah.
so, we really do have some people that are running themselves down for an organization. And I'm not saying that the organization doesn't care, but I'm saying at the end of the day, the organization will be there, but will you? Right?
Exactly.
And you have other responsibilities, like you just said, even outside of that organization.
Yeah, definitely. So you went out for a second there, but I think you were
Oh,
saying like you have other things that you want to do in life.
yeah, you have other responsibilities outside of that organization. And it's kind of like, okay, the organization perhaps is going to be there, but are you? Are you still going to be there?
Right. Exactly.
And then the
Are you
things that
gonna
are
be there?
outside
Yes.
of your other responsibilities, how are you leaving those particular things? And that can be, like we said, that
Absolutely.
can go in a whole bunch of areas, especially your area where we're talking about like, financial legacy, and we're talking about like all of these other things. Like, how about a health legacy? How about we pass those things down to our children and our children's children as well? Right?
Yes. More sustainable.
More
Let's do that. More
sustainable.
sustainable.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. So let's talk really quickly about, let's tie a bow on this. So this has been a great conversation. Coach April is dropping some jewels. Let's talk to the audience a little bit about what we can offer. So we're part of this movement. We're trying to get into as many organizations as we can. We've done a lot in our careers individually. We've joined together in this project. What can we offer if we come into an organization, April, say they got 500 employees? What can we offer them based on this topic?
Yeah. So one of the things that I think we talked about earlier is like customization. So what we can
Yes.
offer is what's going to work for them, because it's not a
Yes.
one size fits all, because it's not a cookie cutter, thing. Like, we're not just templating things out. Now we have those things, those resources, but that's what we could really like offer them so that they can really see a move in the needle in their like organization, and there's like things that we can measure out, right? To understand like, the effectiveness of like the work that we are doing. So that's one of the biggest things, like really understanding what the organization needs based upon the current like temperature, right? And the goals, right? So we're like gauging this, like where we are right now to where we want to be. And then we can kind of customize something to get us like where we want to be, to measure out, to make sure that we really see the results that, we're looking for. Or
That's
that the
right.
organization, right?
That's right. No cookie cutter solutions.
No
No
cookie
cookie
cutter here.
at
No, we don't
all.
believe in
Right.
cookies over here. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
No cookies and no cutters, straight up.
No
But
cookies and no cutters.
but yes, so the customization is a big deal. And then also we have a network of a lot of different wellness professionals. So
Sure.
April has talked about her expertise, fitness and nutrition. Mine's is the financial piece. We know therapists. We have a broad group of people that we can draw from depending on what your needs are. And we can bring
Absolutely.
those people in as needed to create those experiences, like April said, to move your people and your company forward.
Yeah, I love that. And I'm so glad that you used that word like experience, because it really isn't just about like coming in and checking off the box, right?
Right.
That's not what we do. We're not here to just check, the same way we're not here to like just provide a cookie cutter solution. We're not here just to check off the box. We really are here for experience, and we're here to see like tangible change and tangible difference, right?
Absolutely.
We really believe in
Yes.
moving the needle.
For sure. All right. Now we have an email that people can use to reach out to us for a discovery call or just have a conversation. Is that correct?
That's right. Yes,
Okay.
that's right. And
All
so
right.
we'll drop
So-
it either in the comments or
Okay.
I don't know if we could put it in can we drop it on the screen, or do we need to put it in the comments? After
Yeah, I
we're
think
done?
we have to put it in the comments. We'll drop it in the chat after we're done. Yeah.
Okay,
So
cool,
we'll
cool.
get the email in there, schedule some time to talk. Let's figure out what's needed for your organization. And then I just want to ask you, April, do you have any final thoughts on this being healthy at work conversation as we wrap up?
Yeah. So I would like to end with this. Make it a priority to be healthy at work, right? Make that your priority to be healthy at work, the same way that you want to be healthy even outside of work. Because if the work piece is not really taken care of, it's going to spill over into other areas of your life. The same way the opposite is true. If you're not healthy outside, those things are going to spill over into the work environment as well, and you're not going to be as healthy there. So one, I would say make this one a priority, because the responsibility really is on you. And if your organization is not taking on the responsibility that you would like for them to do, consider what you can do to help those changes. You might talk to your organization about bringing Eric and myself in. You might make some recommendations on some things, right? You might consider, okay, is this the best environment for me? Like whatever the thing is, once it's a priority for you, then you will begin to make decisions and changes and things like that that are necessary for you to maintain what your goal is in your health. So
Yes. Yes, yes, and yes. I couldn't
Yes,
agree
yes,
more.
yes.
And I would just add this on there. Get started. Just get started. So you might be looking at us like, they seem like they're cool. Just get the conversation started. You might be like, I don't want to send a long email. Send us a short DM, like a post and comment. Just do something to get it going. If like April said, if the intention is there, it will continue to progress and get to where it needs to go. And watch our content. So Coach April and I are both on LinkedIn. We're on Facebook, Instagram, all this different stuff. We're really about this life. So we're talking about the subjects within our expertise on a regular basis. It'll give you a chance to know us, like us, and trust us as we continue to talk about these subjects. And then, hey, you may gradually progress to getting on a discovery call and talking about your organization. All of that is fine.
Yes, I love that. I love that. I love that. We would love to engage with you in any way possible. So everything that Eric said, everything, I'm co-signing everything.
All right. I love it. I love it. All right. Well, we're going to sign off. And hey, here's the last thing I'll ask you all to do. Give us some topics that you want us to speak about.
Yes.
We'll put together a custom. So since we're not doing cookie cutter stuff in your organization, we're not going to do cookie cutter live events either. Give us a topic. We'll figure it out. And we can even customize it to issues you're having at your organization. Just let us know. Be happy to do that.
Yeah.
All right.
Also tell us like some areas where you feel like you are either like super well, you have a super healthy work environment, or perhaps some things that you might like to see change for you to be either healthier at work or maybe for your organization to maybe provide some healthier topics or alternatives for you. So yeah, just let us know. Let us know where you are. Let us know your goals even for being healthy at work, even outside of work, all of the things that we've been talking about. If we missed anything, say like, hey, I think this would be great, or maybe this is something that I'm dealing with. So help us, like help you as well. And just like you said, just chat with us. We cool people. We love the interaction and the engagement.
We certainly do. We do. All right. Well, April and I are signing off until the next conversation. We will talk to you all soon. In the meantime, peace.
Bye.
Before we close today's episode, a quick heads up. This show isn't just about talk. It's about movement for those building a legacy. It's about helping people heal from the past and level up in life. Real conversations that matter. If you're vibing with the message, make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with somebody that needs to hear it. Peace.